Hello and welcome back to another Sunday Stock Talk. This week we've seen a possible shift in direction in the market, and therefore I've kind of tried to pick out some weaker looking stocks that would be good for a short or good for puts, looking good on the downside. There are not that many long setups this week, and that should be expected with the down move that we had on Friday. So I've kind of shifted my focus to breakdowns. I have two long plays for you, and most of them are going to be short plays. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Drop a like, drop a sub if you're not subbed. Especially if you found this useful, please share it with people that you know. It's the best way for me to get around. So first of all, BKNG. This thing saw a pretty massive gap down. We can see right here we broke trend, the minor trend here, and we have a major trend that lines up right with the 200 SMA, and you can see it's taken off those major two pivots there. And we've had one more reaction, so that's three reactions. That's a pretty solid trend line, lines up nicely with the 200, and we've gotten a close below the 50, which is a pretty bearish indication, and so this is going to be a short. We're going to look to short on any bounce up, and we're going to look to short it, boom, down to the trend line, down to the 200. Great short setup. This one may need some more time. It may go right away. We'll have to see. Watch the price action early next week. If it starts breaking down right away, that could be a quick one and done. It's more of a day trade type move. And you can see we bounced here, and we've now gotten a daily close below that pivot low as well. So looking pretty weak on BKNG. We'll have to see how it acts around this trend line, if that's going to break too. But we can see nice equal triple top here and headed down for now. So we'll see how that acts around the 200, if there will be more shorting opportunity there or if it will continue back to the top. Next, TJX. This one has a nice rising wedge going on. You can see it's not really a nice pullback to go bullish. It's making higher highs. It's making higher lows in a wedge formation. You can see it got very toppy up here. That is a extreme supply. Whenever a stock or a market starts to go sideways and looks pretty bullish, but just can't get through and then breaks down, that shows that sellers are very, very strong at that area. So TJX has broken out of its rising wedge, and I'd be looking for a break of the 50. It has obviously some major structure, right at this area that we broke out of. So I'm looking for a retest of that area, possibly the 200 SMA. That one has a lot of downside. It's looking pretty good. Again, this is not necessarily a bearish stock, but it's something that's looking for a pullback and is showing signs of a breakdown. So if the market continues down, this would be a good pick to play on the downside. Just watch that close below the 50 MA, and it should see some nice retrace down to this zone here. GM, this one is looking really, really good. We had a major trend break on GM. You can see the close below right there. Everything's moving down. It's looking really good, and we've gotten a weekly chart. If I were to draw a weekly line, we've also broken out of that a couple weeks ago, right? So we broke out right there, and then we retested the trend line, and now boom, we've broken down out of that, and we've made a new low and closed at a new low. So any bounces on GM, I am looking to short, and we've got a few key targets here. We've obviously got some pivot lows that should be kept in mind, and then the open gaps are here. Right here, there's an open gap on this day here, so about 32.20. There's another open gap all the way down here at about 30.6, 30.5. So those would be two major targets on GM this stock is bearish. It is breaking down. So this is a very, very good shorting opportunity. Look at the descending triangle pattern, and now boom, it's breaking down. This one looks really good on the downside, especially with the market potentially breaking lower. This is a great play. Okay, on to the next one, EL. EL, another pretty simple trend break here. This one looks okay to me. This one's more of a day trading opportunity, potentially. We've broken trend. I'm looking for this to get a bounce and then be shorted down to the trend line, maybe even the 200, maybe even a larger break of trend here. I would expect a bounce early next week. We should either retest this trend line or retest this breakdown candle high, and we should continue lower there. So that one, you're going to look for a bounce because we've already kind of seen drop off the trend break, so you don't really want to get in here. Wait for that bounce, look for key areas to short. You've got an unfilled gap here, right? That would be a pretty key area. That would also be around the retest of the trend line. Or maybe we only come up to this opening range low here, right? Maybe, or this high, excuse me, right? You see it clearly struggled, couldn't close above this area here. So this 209.40 area is also a key area. We have another breakdown candle high here. It could potentially just reject there and continue down. So keep an eye on those key resistance levels and look at the price action intraday and try to play that short reversal on EL. Okay. A few more shorts here. K. Kellogg, we have a pretty major trend break. We have a close below the 20 MA. That's definitely bearish, along with the trend break. Let's see, this has earnings in 2 weeks, so I wouldn't swing it past earnings, but a nice little maybe short swing or potentially just day trade this. But you can see this one has a lot of room. We have a few gaps down here, so there's a gap here, and then there's 3 gaps here, along with this major structure around this level, a key breakout area you can see. So this one is very good, has a lot of room. I like this pick. Even to the first gap is a nice drop. You got about a 2% drop there. So K has some nice room on the downside, and it's looking pretty bearish. Risk reward is definitely high on K. And potentially, it comes down to retest this structure, which would be a really nice play. We'll have to wait and see. But definitely room on K. C City, this one is a play in progress, setup in progress. This one has a rising channel, and we have found support here. So what I'm looking for is a bounce, potential bounce. Maybe we break straight down, but I'm looking for a potential bounce. Maybe we don't. If we gap under the 50, right? If we gap under that, that's looking bearish. You might be able to get in for a day trade all the way down. But there's a few open gaps here. Sorry, I don't have them marked. But here's a gap, and then there's an open gap. So there's a lot of open gaps here. And then there's obviously the key area of structure here where many major pivots were made. But first target would really be, boom, this zone, this consolidation zone has many gaps in it, and markets like to come and test those breakout zones. So I wouldn't be surprised by a nice bounce here around one of these gaps. Look for either a gap down or a bounce to the top of this candle. We also have an open gap. If we go to an hourly, we have an open gap and a breakdown candle high here. So if this does see bounce, you're going to be looking to short around that area. We've probably got an hourly trend line, I would guess, right around that area too. There it is. So boom, you get an hourly trend line right about there. Maybe you spike it a little bit, and boom, that's a great spot to short C. Again, we don't really have the confirmation of a trend break on the daily yet, so be a bit careful swinging that. You want to wait and make sure you get that confirmation. But if the market continues to see downside, this would be a great play. You can see on a weekly, this is at highs, right? We do have an engulfing, so it's looking pretty good on longer time frames to support the thesis. And again, look at that 20 MA weekly, comes down right into those gaps. So looking pretty nice for a setup, although we haven't gotten the ultimate confirmation. Looking very good. Time frames are all converging together to say the same thing. Okay. Here's one of my longs for the week. Now this one may have or may not. As you can see, it has this pretty important trend line, which we've broken down and we've retested and failed. But we had a nice bullish consolidation. We've broken up. So to test that would be about another $3. And then support zone would be the top of this zone around 206.50. So if we pull back, look for a bounce there. If we continue higher, you can play that breakout for a day trade. Maybe wait and see if it can close back above that trend line. It's got a very major resistance trend line up more like 217, 218. So that could be potential nice upside on Willis Tower Watson. Never heard of him, but anyways, this could also be a potential shorting opportunity, right? You could look and see if there's intraday price action that is rejecting this trend line around 212, 213, then maybe look to play a reversal back down to this zone. Okay, so this could go either way. I like the consolidation. I like the reaction here. That looks pretty bullish to me, but this is getting a little bit long in the tooth. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits this trend line and rejects back down. That's just going to have to be wait and see, but there's your key areas. And yeah, that's really it for that one. Another setup that is currently in progress, has not played out yet, ANTM. This one has a nice breakdown. You can see this is getting very top heavy. We have potential head and shoulders here. We can see this area has provided really strong resistance in the past, right? And so the setup I'm looking at here is this inside bar. We have one bar and we have consolidation within the bar. Friday, we got a pretty strong rejection. We closed pretty poorly near the lows. So I am looking short on this one. This is not a long play. I'm looking for this to break to the downside. If we happen to get a gap below the 50, that's an immediate short. And if we close a day below the 50, also looking for short opportunity. That would also coincide with a daily break of the inside bar. And yeah, targets for this one, pretty key break up area. So down here around 281, this one would have a lot of room on the downside. That would look very good to me. And, you know, potential long swing, right? We have a lot of rejections at this area. Let's take a look at a weekly, right? We have a lot of big rejections there. So obviously that first key area is that breakup area. We have weekly moving averages. There's going to be some sort of support there. That's not just going to fly down below that. So that 280, mid 280s area, that's going to be an important support area. That's your first take profit. And then maybe look for more opportunities after that to either go long or a break to go short. We really need to get below that 280 area in order to have further downside. Okay. Let's see, a few more here. Continuing with the shorting trend, we have AMAT, Applied Materials. This is a technology company. This is one of the technology companies that I feel comfortable going short on. This one has come and has seen some top heavy price action at its prior highs, and this week we've gotten on Friday a rising wedge break, right? So this is looking pretty good. We've gotten a poor close. The close comes in just above the 20. So could this see a bounce before continuing down? Yes, it's very possible. but we can see it's getting pretty top heavy. It's forming a wedge. It's a bearish pattern, and boom, we've had a nice rejection candle that breaks out of that wedge, and we have a clear, well-tested trend line down here that would be a nice target for a potential swing trade, or just play it on the way down. And obviously you've got the bottom of this wedge, this pivot here, that would be another good target right around the 50. So not necessarily a ton of room on this one at the start, but it could turn into something nice. This would probably be more of a day trading opportunity in my opinion. If we go down to an hourly, if we happen to get a bounce, you've got, a few key areas, right? You've got breakdown candle combined with the moving averages here, and if we were to get up to the highs again, I'm assuming a lot of shorts would be stepping in on this massive high volume breakdown candle. So any retrace here, definitely look to be short AMAT. Okay. SWKS. I really like this one, just because this one's been rather extended, and I want you guys to notice the volume that takes place after earnings, right? So we got about a meet on earnings, but that doesn't matter, right? We just pay attention to price and volume. So we've gotten a breakdown of this wedge pattern that we've been in. Looks really clean. It's a clean breakdown, and it's on massive volume. So for that reason, I really like this one. Whenever there's massive volume, you know that there's institutions and there's big money players that are taking part in that move. So we go down to an hourly. Look at that massive volume compared to the rest. It doesn't matter if it was because of earnings. It doesn't matter why it was. It's a sell bar on massive volume. For whatever reason it was, that's a technical indication that this stock is reversing. We got the break. Look at how important that trend line was, right? Do you think that if this retraces back to that trend line, it's going to be rejected? Absolutely. So this one looks really, really good to me on the short side. And yeah, so I mean, first target, you're going to be looking right at there's obviously prior highs that line up, right with that pivot low that we had. So that's a good first close target. That's probably going to line up with about the 50. Maybe we overshoot that and hit the 50. There's a gap. Sorry. There's a gap right here, right? Lines up right about the 50. So boom, you have a nice target there. And then boom, if we can break that, you've got a nice area of consolidation, a nice breakout area here. And you've got a couple more unfilled gaps. So that would be another great spot. And then, of course, you've got this gap. So right now we're speculating how far it could come. You've got first targets. If we happen to break the 50 and break this key area of the prior highs, then we could be looking for a lot more downside on SWKS. So that's speculation for now. But with that kind of high volume reversal, I would not be surprised to see these prices in the coming weeks. Okay. Two more. JPM. Banks got hit pretty damn hard this week on Friday. This one broke down off this smaller pattern on Thursday. Friday, we saw the follow through. I want you to notice that we closed under this breakup candle low, showing extreme weakness in JPM. We closed under the 50, hinting a trend change. If we cannot get back above that 50 in the next day or two, watch out below on JPM. And all banks, for that matter. Banks are not looking good. Financials are not looking good. We've had a pretty bad break in the financials, and although the financials are still holding, we've had a pretty ugly candle. It was pretty high volume. It was relatively weak compared to the market. When the financials are relatively weak compared to the broad market, you can see the financials were down 1.27%. The market was down 0.89%. When financials are weaker than the market itself, that is not a good sign. Financials are really the key thing. They're the key thing, the key sector to look for breaking down when a move is really about to happen. You have small caps like the IWM. They start breaking down and rejecting early. That gives you an early warning sign. They're a leader of the market. XLF is what really drives the market. The financials drive the market. So when you see the financials start to be relatively weak, you want to watch out. And that's another reason I am looking for continued downside, is specifically because the financials are showing relative weakness. So with that being said, JPM, looking to short this on any bounce up to that 50, right on the hourly. We have key pivots here. If we happen to get up to this breakdown candle high gap area, that's an automatic short for me. This has plenty of room down to its breakup area, right? We have a gap here. We have key pivot here, right? This is clearly a key area. We have come up, test, come up and gap over, and then we come back and test that gapped area and go on our way. Test it one more time here. So somewhere in this area is very, very key to JPM. So that's $6 of downside, and that could just be the start. That's near-term target. I'm going to see if there's a. It's not really a great trend line. There's only 2 touches. I mean, yeah, that's what I'd be looking for near term. See how we act around there. I would assume we'd absolutely get a bounce. For how long, we have to assess that in real time. I'll probably be looking at that in next week's video or the next. I have to see the price action in real time. But for now, this is looking weak, looking to go lower. And what do markets like to do? What do stocks like to do? Retest breakout areas. This is a very key breakout area to JPM. So look for that 127 area. Okay. Lastly, gold. Gold long. Gold, buy gold. This is a pretty beautiful falling channel breakout, and now we are forming a really nice cup, consolidating to go higher. Looking really, really good on gold. And that would also coincide with market going down. And yeah, it's looking really good, right? We've basically broken the prior highs. We've come down, we've had a nice weekly doji, and boom, we've broken up last week, so we've gotten confirmation, we've gotten a follow-through. And this is looking to break the highs and go higher. I've got a few key levels here. 150.75, you can see, has a lot of touches. 153.67, same general area. That top one is this breakdown candle high. If we were to get through that area today or this week, I don't imagine we would, but it is possible. We're on a big breakout, but that would be a very big move for 1 week. But if we did, look for, there's a level right about here where we break through and retest, right? You can see there's reactions here at that level, here at that level, where we have a resistance here at that level. So about 157. I'll just go ahead and mark it right about here. Right. So 157, 157.50. That would be a bigger upside target. And then you have a weekly gap here that surely we would not get past without some sort of resistance. So there's a few key targets on GLD. GLD is looking really good. Once we break those highs, it's up and away, and we'll see where we stop. All right, that's going to do it for this week. If the market, for some reason, just decides to turn around and go up, be really wary until we close daily. Until we close daily over these highs, be really wary, guys, because I'm seeing a lot of sector weakness, especially the XLF being relatively weak, really worries me. I don't think that this is just going to be a one and done. We had a rather poor close, and I think we will have, not that it's going to be the end of the world, but I just think we're going to have finally a decent sized correction. I don't think this uptrend is over, but I think we're going into a more intermediate term downtrend, so we can let some of the steam off, wait till you see that big volume reversal, and get long again. If we do see that rally, make sure you're waiting for daily close above these highs. We have to get out of this supply zone here in order to be okay to go higher. All right, so that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.